let's make some internet magic.
Let's do it.
That's good. That's good. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Vertical Table. We are cooking up a character and some world building around that character, and I'm very excited to do that with the illustrious, the not Reverend yet, but we're working on it, trying to convince Ryker from the Cleric's Corner. Welcome, Ryker. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a great introduction.
Um, Everybody knows, but just in case they don't, tell folks where they can find you on the internet and what they're going to find if they go look in there.
Yeah, the Cleric Corner on all platforms. You'll find flavor, lore deep dives, just trying to expand our creative fantasy and break the box out of what we expect our games to be, whether that be genres or lore differentials. Is that a word? That's the word. Just overall new and exciting things that expand your mind when you come to the table, which I'm excited for, which we'll probably do today a little bit more.
Yeah, that's I mean that's entirely my vibe. I really your approach really speaks to me of like here's a ton of different ways. Here's a bunch of options. Here's a ton of cool stuff. Hey everybody, come give me your cool stuff. We'll talk about cool stuff. We'll make a list of cool
Mhm.
stuff on the Patreon. Like not
It's
the one true way I'm always a little suspicious of. Like
it's kind of fun being YouTubers because we know that I mean I watch all of you guys' YouTube videos for inspiration, and then I take that inspiration and make my own video of inspiration, and then I hope some of you guys watch my for inspiration, and it's kind of this fun circle that we all kind of inspire each other and make something new, and that's what's exciting to me.
the cross pollination and the community of it. I mean that's why I do this. I don't do this because it performs well.
Fair.
So people who watch it love it. Thank you, folks, for watching this.
Yeah.
But like half of it is just an excuse to sit down with cool people and do creative stuff. So speaking of,
Hmm.
let's fire up the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation.
Let's do it.
All right. So you got some dice handy?
I do.
I'm going to ask you to roll one of everything. First question. I believe I know your answer, but we're looking at character archetypes here. Do
Mhm.
you want to stick with your choice?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
sticking with my choice.
So we're doing an
Got
acolyte.
to.
Boom. Everybody go join the cult. Patreon? I'm sorry, did I say cult?
Well, I mean, on my Discord, it says a cult. So yes,
Okay, cool, good.
let's join the cult.
Um okay, so we didn't the D100s for that table of contents there. But I'm gonna ask you to roll one of everything else. If it's easier for you to do it one at a time because of space,
Great.
cool. But all at once is way more fun.
Okay, so well, oh, see, I need
Four,
a
six, eight,
D12.
4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20.
Let's do it. Let's do everything. Okay, I think I got everything. Oh, you hear that? That was beautiful.
Satisfying.
Okay, so we got a 16 for the first
16 on the
one.
D20. Okay, so this is going to be our drive, dream, or aspiration. What's our character's motivation?
Does redeem
16.
themselves for their past?
That's got some rich narrative potential there.
I'd say it does.
Redeem
And then we
themselves.
got
Past.
should we just move on to the next one?
It's up to you. You gotta if that sparks something, shout it out. Otherwise, sometimes it's good to like collect a few and see how they start to connect and build.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one is number one. So divine vision in dreams or meditation, catalyst or calls to adventure.
Uh,
Hmm. I like that. Okay. So then we move on to D8. That is a 4. So simplistic, understanding, sophisticated.
so that's like potential character arc, right? So
Ah, I
the kind
see.
of stuff I like to discover it through play, but having like some sort of concept, which I'm not like,
Yeah.
which I'm willing to let go of, but I can kind of lean into the one and like look for opportunities to go to the other.
Yeah, you know what? It's weird. I'm kind of thinking at first. I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll redeem someone from their past, a cleric that was a worshiper of some evil god and
Hmm.
is still feeling the influence of those things through dreams or in the meditations. They try to find peace, but then that face like keeps coming back. But then I'm seeing like, ooh, the simplistic understanding to sophisticated or maybe I would say like cultured or civilized, maybe. So it could be where they were, I don't know, for lack of a better term, raised by wolves.
Mhm.
They had some sort of very interesting, chaotic nature god. And then they found civilization is almost making that process to more of the civilized parts of the pantheon, which would be interesting.
I like that a lot. There's something about the old school way of like good and evil's not on the I like the grid. I like 9 by 9. I like options again. We've
Yeah,
established
yeah,
that
yeah,
many times over. But
yeah.
like there's something about stripping it down to order and chaos
Hmm.
where it's like, okay, these are different ethical codes. These are different ways of like seeing the world.
Yeah.
And like, okay, yeah, order good, chaos bad. But like that's an oversimplification of things. Chaos could
Hmm.
be druids are chaos. Feywild is
Yeah,
chaos. Right? Like
yeah.
I kind of like stripping out that good and evil side of things, especially like raised by wolves, like nature. Like
Hmm.
I sure ate a lot of stuff before I started reading books.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
feel
I
guilty about that.
my next roll for the D4 was a 2, which is Shields of Faith. So like holy warriors who devote themselves to martial arts in the deity's ways. So it's interesting because I'm imagining this bestial person uses their claws, right?
Mhm.
Their hands on, their teeth, they're very chaotic, and maybe like they're struggling to use a shield, right? So struggling to use more of those weapons of civilization, and they always turn more to the martial arts or the unarmed strikes, which would be like an interesting cleric monk kind of thing to me.
Yeah, because it's funny. Acolyte so easily becomes cleric, right? But like
Easily, yeah,
this is like I do like a monk is an acolyte in so many
yeah, they are, yeah.
stories, like in so many ways. Yeah. Um,
I did a video long time ago, a video on reflavoring um the monk to be different things, right? So like if it's not a monk, then what is it? And one of those aspects was like a beastborn, right? Where it's like you're not using unarmed strikes, you're using your claws and your teeth and those things, where you don't have any monk flavor at all, and it's all just you're a beast. You are an animal, and these are the features that you get. And so I'm pulling a lot of from that, which is exciting to me.
oh yeah, I like it. I will I approve.
Uh-huh.
And that could, I mean, because like yeah, if we're going with like vanilla canon D&D stuff, like you could be you're a lizard folk acolyte, right? Of
Yeah.
whatever that S word is. I forget the crocodile god. So la 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 la. But
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so it's like salacious or something. I don't know.
Yep,
But
that's the one.
yeah, salacious. That's we got it.
I know that one. Yeah, totally. Salacious. Uh,
Cool. So D6 is gonna give us a friendly like NPC ally and asset to rely on.
okay, so Markham Velder, a noble who supports the order to compensate for personal debauchery. So
Ah,
this, I mean, that's very similar to my problem that we're having.
I
So I
like, yeah.
go ahead.
No, it just feels like ships passing in the night, like this, like sophisticated, cultured person, like
Yeah.
dabbling in more saying bestial in that context feels weird, but
Hmm.
so sort of lower impulses, perhaps.
Yeah, I almost seeing like this person could be someone who grew up with me, who kind of got this path of civilization before me,
Hmm.
and is almost like guiding me on that path. They're trying to make up for the personal debauchery and the bestialness of themselves, so they're helping me do the same thing, where we're both still kind of struggling with it. And so it's almost like a mentor-mentee kind of relationship,
And
which would be
there's
interesting.
always it's a short walk from like bestial to like lycanthropy and like this
Yeah.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr.
Oh,
Hyde, like trying to control
yes.
this animalistic tendency.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it could be lycanthropy of, the physical lycanthropy of, or a lycanthropy of emotions, of personality, of things like that. Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't thinking about lycanthropy as well. So that's great.
Well, dude, this is your character. I'm just here for the ride, man.
No, I love it.
Um,
I love the input because I feel like characters in a vacuum are n never as good as a character that has I guess ideas bouncing back and forth to individuals or more, which is why I try to involve my characters in my campaigns, like my players. I
hmm.
try to involve them in the creation process as well. I don't create the world until after they create the characters for that specific reason. And so like I enjoy the creative process more with another individual. Not that I don't by myself, but there is a certain aspect to that.
It's the name of the game,
Okay.
right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the items and objects, I rolled a 1. So
Oh,
a
sorry.
well-worn journal or annotated scripture written by mentor or a historical figure.
So this is the
So
this is the one thing where big number good. So oftentimes at my table in a session zero scenario, I'm all about
yeah.
flavorful trinkets informing character choices.
Hmm.
But this is one thing where I let people reroll ones. So I'm going to give you that well-worn journal because that is we have this like
Okay.
mentor figure in Markham. But
See, but I kind of do like it still.
yeah, no,
But
you're keeping it. You're keeping it.
Yeah,
But
I'll
the guy
probably keep it.
The guy next to you just got a magic item at character creation, and I can't cheat you out of one.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So I mean, I rerolled to be a 6, so the peeling retribution, so an inscribed bell or singing bowl deafens all others in range. I think I'd still do the well-worn journal or annotated scripture because one, it says it's written by my mentor, so it could be from the Markham Velder that we had talked about. It could be like his findings, where he was a friend growing up, and I found his journal and I followed him back to civilization, and met him up, and was able to kind of follow his path as well. Or it could be a someone that both of us kind of came upon that talked about the path of the beast, and it's almost propaganda in a way that brings us both to civilization, that we both kind of read over, and both trying to kind of follow the tenets within, which would be very interesting.
And I keep getting these little flashes of like it's hard to enunciate, but like the idea of like the law of nature and like balance, right? Like
Hmm.
having this violent power
Yeah,
that we're struggling with, and then kind of like again the simplistic idea of like, oh, this is good, like this is how it is, and then some sort of like vision or something that gets us to, oh, this is bad
yeah,
early on, and then like, oh, this is
yeah.
this is necessary, right? This is not like maybe it's a necessary evil, or
Hmm.
like that's like some people need their head busted, like
Yeah.
some throats should be ripped out.
I almost imagine like the visions or dreams that they have through meditation is almost they fall into that bestialness where they picture themselves like running through the woods chasing a bunny rabbit, right? And then they're like, no, I can't, right? Whereas like I gotta be civilized. And I feel almost like that arc and kind of what you were talking about, just that balance where the arc is figuring out, oh, well, maybe going completely civilized is bad too. Maybe I do need to meet in the middle and be this kind of best of both worlds in a way.
Yeah, and like that gives me like self-acceptance sort of themes. I also just love the idea of like describing my monk character, like doing like the doggy dream thing in a
Yeah.
sleep sequence.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
that's perfect. Um, okay. Do you want to add or adjust anything to this character before we switch hats to like more the dungeon master side of things, the world building side of
No,
things?
I love it so far.
That
Let's do it.
feels pretty developed. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to roll 4d6 as is tradition.
Ooh, hey, let's do it.
Um, and depending on your style, maybe this is something that you are collaboratively working with your player with, or maybe you did that first half with them and now you go back and prep and now we're world building. Whether we're working with some concept that we already had or we're starting from scratch is obviously easier, but like the idea is that
Hmm.
these are connecting the character to the world so that they give a shit and they dance to our tune.
Great. Okay.
Um,
So the first one I got was a 1.
the House of Blessed Respite. posing as a hospice, but collecting dead for nefarious reasons. I hate that, so I love it. So that is like an antagonistic faction.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, posing as a hospice.
It's
It's funny. We
collecting.
we just built an acolyte and like didn't touch on healing at all there, and it's interesting to like have that
Hmm.
come up of like that like medicine. I mean, yeah, nature and medicine are close. That's all. It's all wisdom, baby.
Yeah.
Um,
It's interesting, and maybe I'll touch on it here, because so I have a video going out this weekend. It'll be up by the time this video goes up. Um, but it's about how much I hate that all clerics turn undead, and I think it's
uh,
ridiculous and too simplified.
uh,
Because if you're worshiping a plant god, what the heck kind of beef do they have against the undead? You know? And it's so many other things. Like if I was a plant god, a god of plants, who would be my enemy? Well, it would be probably the beasts of the forest who chew on my stuff, or humans who cut down the forest, right? So why shouldn't I be able to banish or turn them, the actual things that challenge my god's domain? And so to me, I'm like, I can't have my god of color or my god of the wind be able to turn undead, because that makes absolutely no sense. And so, like, to me, I have a big beef against turn undead. And in this video, I changed the features to be a little bit more like the favorite enemy of the ranger,
hmm.
which I think is a lot more appropriate when it comes to the plethora of gods that you could be about. So I'm reading this and be like, but collect, a place collecting dead for nefarious reasons. And I'm like, well, there's the dead again. There is that tie into cleric that we expect, right? That we expect for clerics, but I don't know if it's super flavorful for this character, and I'm trying to kind of tie it in of a good reasoning of why.
Well, so I just like what is like nature balancy, what is
Hmm.
their enemy? And I think it's like disease, corruption, right? Like it's a
Yeah.
little more, I mean, it could be people too. And I mean, I guess because an acolyte implies some sort of like religious organization, right? And
Right.
like those people are going to get involved in birth and death, if nothing else, right? Probably
Sure.
weddings. And then like end of life care is probably going
Yeah.
to have some sort of tie into this like whatever the religious structure is.
Hmm.
Um and again, these guys are not necessarily what they seem to,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. And I think that there is always merit for the Turn Undead, and I do have arguments for it as well. But I like that you touched on disease, because I'm like, if it's both bestial and we're trying to turn into civilization, what's kind of the enemy of both?
Hmm.
And disease is actually pretty up there, right? So it's maybe it's these they're collecting the dead because of this disease that are causing them to be dead. They're almost removing evidence, right? So they're this house of blessed respite, or this hospice that is, instead of healing people, they're making people sick and then collecting the dead to kind of see the results of said disease.
Yeah, man, it's wild. So what I mean, you didn't get my whole spiel of like change everything. If you if you get a result and you're like that would be cooler if awesome, it's doing its job. Like run with
Yeah.
that instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I just had this flash of like okay, if we're some sort of like weird disease cult or like arcane wizard research nefarious
Uh-huh.
nastiness, please give me the people. Like, how do I get access to a ton of subjects that no one's going to be suspicious if they die?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
who can we infect and have a steady supply of? And like, woo, that's
Oh,
evil.
yeah.
That's an evil scheme.
Yeah. Well, on that note too, who can we infect? Who can we get that no one's going to turn an eye to?
Yeah.
And that's probably maybe the tribal people that we grew up with,
Ooh.
right? It's the people out there outside of civilization. And so, yeah, so this character almost has this conflict. They're trying to separate themselves from their friends and family out there, but they're the ones that are being cut up and killed. So you're like, shoot, what do I do? Like now I have this familial thing with them. Oh, this is getting good.
I
This is
love
getting
that a
good.
lot because there's something about like you never. you never feel more like part of your identity can be like so dormant
Yeah.
until it's like threatened, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and you're getting into like imperialism and
Mm-hmm.
colonialism, all these things. Like I rarely feel. I mean, my name is Ryan Doyle, right? So like I
Uh-huh.
identify as Irish. I'm a mutt. I got a million things, but like other than like I visited Ireland and I felt actually felt pretty American in Ireland, but like
hmm
there's few things that make you feel more Irish than like British colonialism, right? Like it's like
Sure, sure, sure.
the thread of it all. Um, so like yeah, yes, this idea of like you're trying to separate yourself out from where you
Yeah.
came from.
It's the tugging on the flaw that's really evocative. The
Yes,
the inner
yes.
struggle and the tugging on the inner struggle. I'm like, ooh, that's good. Okay. If we want to move to the next one,
We could be
three, am I
done. I
going?
mean, I'm satisfied, but yeah, give me
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. So we
give me
go to
some.
evocative locations or rivals and enemies first.
You're typically rival and enemy. I'm gonna make you do that
Okay.
first. You got a
So
number.
we'll do three. So cult of the stranger. So worship a forgotten god, unaware it is a well-known demon.
Ooh.
Okay. So maybe the god that this hospice is worshiping is is a forgotten god, aka a well-known demon.
I like, and I maybe over apply it sometimes, but like I like the Uno reverse card, right? Like because
Yeah.
like you need a cult. There's always a cult,
Yeah.
but like one like but it's sometimes it's hard to see why are these guys trying to create a pandemic that's going to kill everybody? Like that it would kill them too, right? It's like
Yeah.
oh no, they have been misled too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
um,
and that's that. Yeah, this the inner struggle. So me as a DM looking at that, me in my mind, I'm like, okay, how could I actually make that forgotten god or well-known demon actually tie in with a different character? So we have two characters that have the same backstory or a backstory that ties together. So that's kind of where my mind would go with that. If I have a
yes,
warlock, right?
yes,
Definitely
yes,
making that patron the forgotten god, right? So like again, not in a vacuum, we want to tie it to other things. If it is in a vacuum, maybe this forgotten god is the god of like the bestial god that this guy used to worship or pretending to be, and then but the devil is actually in the details.
mm, mm.
And so he's uncovering like, oh well, isn't the God that I remember. Why is this God killing the people that are worshiping them, right? So like there's that inner struggle again. So that's where my mind goes.
Wow. Okay. 2 points. One, you get it. The impulse of like, yeah, how do I get? I usually
hmm
touch on that on the location part, but like, yeah, the more connections. This was going to be called Connections, but it felt like a sociology textbook title. So like, but yeah, the more you can like,
hmm
especially behind the scenes, connect everybody like a fucking
Yeah,
switchboard. I love it. Um,
live for that.
live for that. Two, this idea of like like this thing is masquerading as your god, right? Who you are
hmm
struggling with or whatever. And that just woo, that's a spicy, that's a complex
Yeah, spicy.
flavor there of
We
like
live for spice. I
you're
may be white,
avoiding
but I like
like
my spice.
it stops you from like you wouldn't really investigate it because you assume you know it's the reverse card on you too. You assume you know what it is. You hate these people because you're struggling with that part of yourself,
Yeah,
and then scratch the surface and you're like, oh, this is something else entirely. Um, I like the reveal. I like
yeah.
the yeah,
And you as the DM, like you can't wait to reveal that. You can't wait for it.
exactly. You gotta have fun.
No.
DM's a player too. All right, evocative location, which is often the thing I'll say, like, let's tie that into other people if it doesn't fit our
hmm
story, because it's a box, you can put a ton of stuff in.
Yeah,
Um,
I got number six, pillars of divinity. So natural structures or remnants of giant edifice considered holy by many. Almost thinking of like what's the word? Stonehenge.
mm,
Almost something like that, where it's like out in nature. It's very Celtic. It's very Druid. Like that kind of structure. And maybe they're using that edifice as a as the petri dish, for lack of a better term, where it's almost like that's where the disease is coming from. Could be
ooh,
something like that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. looking at
Um,
the other ones. But yeah, I mean
I
that
like that. I like that
works
a lot, actually.
essentially.
Yeah.
We can, I mean, if it doesn't even need to be tied to the story, but just maybe a something that I return to commune with my old god, right?
And
A place where like that happens like that.
and there's like there's this like double like maybe the demon has like opened the portal to the abyss or the plane of
Yeah.
disease or whatever. We don't have to go that deep with it, but like this is the it must be cleansed, right?
Yeah.
That's a great quest hook.
Yeah, and I
Um,
guess I love this because it also it really shows my love for duality and
hmm,
and conflict and dual choices. I recently made a I had a cleric video go out that was all about the trickery cleric, but I had a vote and we decided like which kind of concept we would make it into its own subclass, and we created the cleric of duality, which is free on that
hmm,
video. You can get, or I get, I have free PDFs for my Patreon members. But the Cleric of Duality is just that, where it has light and dark, upper plane and lower plane, and powers that they can switch in between depending on kind of where on the scale they're currently at of alignment, but also being able to channel both at the same time. And I'm getting a lot of vibes from this as well. It's just so cool. Okay, anyways, I got four unthematic monsters. A blasphemous construct, a soulless machine created to destroy divine servants.
I mean, that's a pretty good dark mirror to our bestial nature monk.
Yeah, I mean it could be the moment where I think, oh, like civilization, because it's a construct, I imagine a machine, right?
Mm,
I can
mm,
imagine,
mm,
oh,
mm,
like machines can be destructive too. Machines, like
mm.
civilization, can be bestial. It can be destructive. It can be chaos. And that would be really cool, like maybe end game thing where the cult has created this construct. And honestly, maybe it's a construct of all the dead. Maybe it's powered by the souls of the dead. Maybe the disease allows them to attach the souls to it like a battery. Or it could be made of flesh because constructs are also
Yeah.
can, like a flesh monster or something like
Flesh
that.
golem's a Frankenstein's a construct, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Flesh golems, exactly. So like somewhere in that realm I could see as being a good almost end game or even a guardian of sorts to the temple.
Dope. And so we didn't talk about I your like channel duality, right? Like this idea of like
Yeah.
we're a monk, we're using ki. We're pulling this energy from, you know, traditionally we diversify from it, but like the yin and the yang, like
Yeah,
there's two colors to this energy. There's two sides to this coin.
exactly.
Why not tap into both? Um, okay, so D20 to finish it off.
Yep.
This is the swingiest device. This is just a giant pool of plot hooks because sometimes you're like, oh, you're not doing the thing that I thought we were doing. So what else could we do?
I'm sorry, I read ahead. Number 13. Their deity loses their divinity and as a mortal asks for aid to get it back.
I mean, that's if we have a forgotten god and someone else is
Yeah.
impersonating them, it feels like, and yeah, just like that,
It's perfect. Yeah, because that bestial god comes to you and says, "Hey, like you used to be a part of me," and it could almost be a way where it's almost explained like that god fell from graces, so obviously their followers felt that light fade. They didn't get satisfaction from worshiping them. They didn't get their faith was lost. And so they thought they were finding somebody else. They thought that they were having a natural progress to something else in their lives. But no, it was the natural cause of losing contact with that God that made them lose faith in this character as well. It was like, oh, shoot. Now, like, I realized what had happened. And so there a God comes along and says, "Hey, this person's impersonating me. I need your help to get it back. They're using this disease, they're using the souls of the people who worship me to give power to the demon, creating a flesh golem vessel for them, and becoming a god in and of themselves." So I'm like, yeah, I might turn this into a one shot or something. This is great.
take it with my blessing. Yeah, it's more yours than mine now. Yeah, there's something about again like that duality and like reversal of like internal struggle to self-acceptance and like, oh, I'm not the problem, right?
Hmm.
Like so often it's like they found the answer inside themselves all along. Whereas
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I thought I was a bad person, and it's just like somebody turned off my God, and there's a
Yeah.
demon impersonating it now. Like,
Yeah. You
oh,
had no guidance. You had no power. You had no, yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
were
Left to
raised,
your own devices.
and you were literally you were raised by wolves, and now here comes this. There's you're the only person who can understand what this dog is saying, and everybody else thinks you're the freaking crazy son of Sam
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
And like, this is your God, except it's got nothing left in the tank, and it
Hmm.
needs help.
Yeah.
Um, oh man. Okay. Any final thoughts on that? I don't
I mean, no. I mean, I'll probably cancel my next appointment and start making this character now. So,
sorry, not sorry. Okay, we're gonna go back to the big screen.
great.
And I know you gotta run. This has been deeply satisfying. Thank you for hanging out with us. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Thank you for the opportunity. That was a freaking blast. Not gonna lie. Those roll tables, I don't hang out a lot with roll tables, but man, if that wasn't evocative.
There's different I think a lot of people misunderstand the purpose of them. It's not there,
Hmm.
it's idea generation. That's it.
Yeah, it's not like this is the way it is. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
At least the ones I make.
Yeah, no. Well, because I never use random combat, random encounter to roll tables.
Oh, interesting.
Never. Just because I'm like, if I want the fight to make sense. I want it to be a natural progression of the story, usually.
Yes, yes.
And so I'm like, I don't want to roll like 3D wolves and have that make no sense and just have a fight to have a fight. So, but that, like you said, there is merit to that. But I feel like this, when you have that creation, when you're not in the thick of it, when you're not like in game needing to come up with something, and but even then, really, I feel like this is a great way to at least, I mean, this experience being Exhibit A of just how these things can help you make a really evocative character and make something that is interesting that you might not otherwise create.
Awesome. Thank you. Very, very nice to hear that. Very gratifying. I'm gonna send you a copy of this. So people watching at home, if you want to be on the show. Also, I'm gonna send you one of my. I'm a big fan of. I think I cracked the code for random like encounter tables
Yeah.
that are narratively satisfying and not just like 3D6
Okay.
wolves are the worst part of it, but like wolf sign and then whatever. Yeah, I'll see if I can change your mind on that too.
That's amazing. I appreciate that. That's great.
What's coming up next on the Cleric corner? What's
Um,
what's the future hold?
so next on the Cleric Corner, continuing on just really buckling down on like serious content. So content that you can kind of binge and get a lot out of. So finishing up the Genasi stuff, I might expand that to other creatures, other things if it continues to do well. Exploring all of the genres, so cyberpunk, aetherpunk,
Hmm.
solar punk, deco punk, whatever. Love exploring new aesthetics and themes that you can bring to your games to make it unique so that every time a player comes to the table, they're not getting the same sword and sorcery that they get at every other table. They get something new with you. And then also the D&D versus history, taking a look at what has created the monsters that we know and love today and how different they can be. The next video maybe coming up just after this, I might as well just say we're gonna look at the Tarrasque
Hmm.
and what the Tarrasque used to be and what it is now. And it is a night and day difference and has some actually interesting influences in the video game industry, which I'm excited for.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
What was Rampage? Do you remember Rampage? I'm a
Rampage,
little
no,
older than
something
you. But...
something a lot more popular than that,
Oh,
actually,
okay. Well,
which I
yeah.
won't spoil here, but yeah.
Um, Man, okay, final question. Deco punk. That was actually a new like art deco? That was a new
Yeah,
term for art deco punk. Interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's dwarves are art deco and elves are art nouveau in my mind. That's how
yeah. I could, yeah,
that,
absolutely. Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah, Deco, like The Incredibles is Deco.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
It's like mid-century modern D&D. Like
Exactly. Yeah, mid-century. Yeah. It's that aesthetic of high, t very structured lines, bronze aesthetics. Yeah, it's a really cool aesthetic, but applied to fantasy
Yeah,
and punk, it kind of takes it on a new form. So I'm excited to kind of cover that eventually.
cool. Looking forward to all of those things. Thank you, Riker, for hanging out with us. Deeply appreciate you, man. This
Thank
was a
you.
blast. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Be kind, have fun. Bye.
See ya.